Hi, this is Tracy's Kitchen and Appalachian Adventures. Okay, now I'm talking about part two of the prosperity message: flaws and mistakes. What do we do? Okay, now like I said, I went back to Genesis to see what God had to say about money. Okay, now command, the first economic command that God gave the Israelites, He wasn't speaking to him. Everybody, you gotta understand, the Bible is not for everybody. The Bible is only for the children of God. Okay, it is not for people who worship apples and oranges. Okay, that's not who it's for. Okay, God's not speaking to everybody in the scriptures. He's only speaking to His children. His children know His voice. He's only speaking to the church, actually. He's not speaking to anybody who worships devils. He's not speaking to the devil worshippers. He's not speaking to people who worship apples and oranges and tomatoes. Okay, so the first economic command in Genesis, He said, "Go possess the land." Therefore, Christians, we are supposed to be the biggest landowners here. We're supposed to be the biggest property owners out here. All through the Old Testament, you see the Israelites buying property, landowners. You know, I often wonder, why was Lazarus poor? Lazarus the beggar. I often wonder, why was he poor? You know, Lazarus the man who got the crumbs from the rich man's table. First of all, he seemed to have been alone, no family. Therefore, no family, no property. Somebody could have confiscated his property without due process, just a land grab. He seemed to have been alone. No people, no family. He just seemed to be alone. So he was looking to get garbage, garbage from the rich man. And the rich man, that's why the rich man went to hell, because of his attitude toward not only Lazarus, but other poor people in general. His attitude. Now, if the rich man had helped Lazarus, he told his servants, if he had told his servants, look, go take that man, give him a bath, and set him here at my table, and we'll have dinner together. There's no telling how Lazarus would have blessed him. I mean, who knows? Lazarus may have built this rich man a little house. He may have built him a vineyard or some type of garden. Maybe he was talented in the garden. Um, he may have been a tailor. There's no telling how this poor man named Lazarus would have blessed the rich man. There's no telling if he had helped him, but he didn't help him. He went to hell for it. Okay, so he basically went to hell for his attitude towards the poor and Lazarus in particular. Okay, all through the Old Testament, like I said, the Israelites were landowners. Okay, that is not spoken of in the prosperity message. They do talk about a personal house, but I'm talking about investment properties, investment houses. An investment, you want to, buy an acre of land somewhere, anywhere. Buy an acre of land. That's not even talked about in the prosperity message. Lots. You can buy tax delinquent lots. You can buy abandoned lots, abandoned properties that the city doesn't want. You can buy investment houses. You can buy rural property. They don't talk about that. You know why? Because I think they don't want us to buy it. Because look, if we put $5,000 in some property, that means we're not giving $5,000 to them. That's going to destroy their racket. If we go buy $5,000 worth of lots and property, what does that mean? That we're not giving them $5,000 so they can buy a chandelier? Duh. Okay. See, I'm convinced that the Lord wants us to use our brain. Why did He bother give human beings a brain if He didn't want us to use it? Okay. He wants to use our wits and our talents to buy real estate and to start businesses. I used to think when I was a kid that the disciples were poor. I thought Jesus was poor. And that's not true. The disciples were upright citizens. Matthew was a tax collector, an educated man, very good with numbers. Luke was a physician. Peter was a rich fisherman. James and John, Zebedee, the sons of Zebedee, were rich fishermen. They had servants, employees. Let's see, who else? Philip, all of them Paul was a tent maker by trade. Plus, he was fluent in, I counted at least two languages. He said he had an education way above many of his equals. You know, he had the equivalent of a PhD plus postgraduate study. Paul did. And he was, even Jesus said, Paul had one of the greatest minds of the day, of that day. Okay, so we're supposed to use our brains and our wits and our talent to start businesses. Paul was a tent maker. That was one of his businesses. Peter was a fisherman. That was one of his businesses. Jesus was a carpenter by trade. And I would think that he built a whole lot of people, a whole lot of stuff in his ministry. They don't put that, in the canon. But I would think, there are a lot of things that Jesus did that John said are not written in the book. Couldn't even contain all the things he did. So I would think Jesus probably built a whole lot of widows and orphans houses and tables and things like that. Now, Jesus said that the children of the world are wiser than children of the light. Now that's an insult at best. Okay. But he said the children of the world, children who are not saved, are wiser than children of the light. Why? Because God knows we're stupid. God knows that his people are stupid. He knows they don't know anything about money. Which, with children of the world, people who are not saved, all they do is study money. All the stockbrokers do is study money all day. Financial planners, financial appraisers, all they do is study money all day. That's all they do. Okay? He knows we don't know anything about money management. We don't know how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. We don't want to go to school. We don't want to go to financial planning classes. We don't even want to go to school to learn how to be a plumber, just as an aside, just as a hobby. We don't want to learn electrical wire. We don't want to go to even a part-time school to learn how to cut hair, barber in a beauty shop. We don't want to hardly read. I mean, you know what? Some preachers might say, well, I don't read too good, but I can read the Bible. Okay, so the Lord knows we're stupid. He knows that we don't have sense enough to save and pay cash for a house. He knows that. So he says, okay, go ahead and buy the house on time. And so we're stupid. We're going to get a 30-year mortgage. And he knows we don't have smarts to save the money to buy the car we want. So he kind of gives us permission to go buy a car on time. I know some of you idiots going to buy a BMW 5-year loan. I know that. And you take like some of these stupid preachers, they telling black people who are already the poorest of the poor in America, ow, go buy your Hummer, which is a one-way ticket to bankruptcy. Okay, we all know that. And ow, guess what? The stupid black men, stupid black women and men are buying Escalades and Hummer. Why? Because the stupid preacher told them to go buy it. And they listened to that stupid preacher. A $75,000 car. I just know you can buy 2 houses in a rural area for $75,000. I just happen to know that. Okay. Like I said, God knows we're stupid. The Lord knows we're stupid. And Solomon says, above all, get wisdom. See, what I'm talking about, what are we to do? What do we do? Solomon says, above all, get wisdom and get understanding. We need to understand the 30-year mortgage to know that we don't need to be on a 30-year mortgage. Christians are supposed to be the most honest people out here. But we're not. I know that. I know that a lot of Christians aren't honest. I know a lot of Christians who have national ministries are not honest. I know that. But see, it's going to cost us something to be honest. It's going to cost us something. It's going to cost us something to say, no, I'm not going to get into that scam. No, I'm not going to steal that money from the offering plate. It's going to cost us something. If what it means is, no, we won't be able to buy the new cabinets. Rather than steal money from the offering plate, what does that mean? We won't get new cabinets, okay? That's what that means. It's going to cost us something, to be honest. I know of a preacher. He tried to steal this really nice building and plus the land and all the investment properties of this other ministries, this other ministry. This other ministry that took years to get all that property and to have a successful ministry. But what he essentially did was try to steal it, and God judged him. But he lived through it. He lived to tell the tale. He lived to tell about it. But you actually have to look on the internet to see what happened. But it's a mess, y'all. But honesty will cost us something. And I know there is sin in the church. There's sins of the flesh, usually sex. Okay? And God's going to judge that. Okay? We shouldn't steal paper clips from the company. There are financial sins. You're not paying back people who you borrowed money from. You're stealing from people. You're not paying your IRS bill. You know what? Part of that was what brought judgment upon Israel. Israel became idolaters. And of course, what goes with idolatry? Temple prostitution, etc. They were stealing land from the widows and the orphans. They were cheating on products. They were giving people the bad wheat. They were selling the wheat at an inflated price. It's right there in the book of Amos, Jeremiah, and Isaiah. They were cheating people. And they brought judgment on themselves. God said, I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to reserve a remnant, but I'm going to destroy most of y'all. It's going to be desolate. It's just a lot of different judgments. The land will be desolate. Okay? But honesty will cost us something. Now, loan companies are supposed to be saying, yes, we want to do business with that church because we know they pay their bills. We'll do business with the pastor because we know that pastor pays his bills. But now loan companies are saying, look, we don't want to deal with that church. We don't want to deal with that pastor because he's too dishonest. We don't even want to deal with him. Okay? So, now, what about Ponzi and pyramid scams? They are prevalent in the church. I mean, if you want to deceive the maximum amount of people in the shortest period of time, you just market a Ponzi or pyramid scam in the church. Okay? Now, some sell phone cards, some sell real estate. Okay, the reason why the pastor's getting rich because he's at the top of the pyramid. Okay, he's at the top of the Ponzi scam. God gave me 3 houses. That's because you're at the top. And you already stole the money. Okay. Some have gotten jail time. Some have owed the IRS thousands, millions, maybe even millions of dollars. Okay. I can name names. Okay. What that is gambling in the church. It has no place in the church. The Bible says the borrower is servant to the lender. So actually, Christians are not supposed to borrow money for any reason. But like I said, God knows we're stupid, so we're going to be stupid enough to buy a house on time. We're going to buy a car on time because he knows we're stupid. Okay, we shouldn't be co-signing loans. The Bible used the word surety. You're a co-signing loan. We're not supposed to be co-signing loans. The church does not preach that in the prosperity message. Church never preaches borrower servant to the lender. You know why? Because the church wants people to put an offering on that credit card. But that's unscriptural because the Bible says we are supposed to give of our increase. We're not supposed to give out of borrowed money. Borrowed money is money that doesn't exist, but you got to pay it back with interest. Okay, now the prosperity message, they don't even preach the borrower servant to the lender. Why? Because it would mess up the racket. Because a lot of them are getting offerings on their credit card, on your credit card. And they don't want to mess up that racket. How you pay that credit card is your business. That's your problem. They got the money. But see, they never preach the borrower servant to the lender. And it's clearly right there in Proverbs. It's not preached in the prosperity message. So what's going on? Christians are in debt up to their ears. They're homeless on the street. House is not paid off, cars not paid off, they're broke. Five broke, okay? Let's listen to part 3.